Hello, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Welcome to today's Critical Thought. We are talking the Toys to Life genre. First, thank you to 634 followers there on YouTube. Hope you enjoy the content and we'll keep doing these daily tallies. The Toys to Life genre is a very fascinating one, combining elements of game design, the collectible markets, toys, and being the nightmare of parents. Last year, the market really hit a major point with multiple brands and platforms competing for being the top tier. Over here we have three of them, and we'll start with Skylanders. Skylanders was developed by Toys for Bob, who also made the Star Control series back in the day. And Star Control 2 was one of my favorite games of all time, but if we want to talk about that, that's a good 40 minutes right there. With Skylanders, Toys for Bob wanted to essentially make a toy-based video game. At the time, they didn't have a actual brand or property set aside, and they wanted to use another brand essentially to, I guess, have a pre-installed consumer base. So they approached Activision for Spyro, and Spyro Skylanders was born. The Skylanders brand became so popular that they pretty much phased out Spyro with later games. Now this guy isn't the first generation. This is from, I think, the second or third Skylanders Giants. And this is where the genius of the Toys to Life model really comes in. But first, if you don't know what we're talking about, this figurine has a chip in its base. You obviously won't be able to see it, but there's an RF chip in here that essentially defines what this character is, his properties in game, and any cross-communication between the game and the chip. You use a base or portal that you place this character on. I don't have it here. It's not included here, unfortunately. That allows it to transfer data. And what the Skylanders game does is you put this character on the base, and he basically appears in-game, or he magically appears. The game basically has all the data of the figurines, and you're essentially just activating that piece of content. Now, what Skylanders does better than the other Toys to Life brands is it really integrates the toy side of things to the game. Each game has its own unique portal and its own unique theme or style. So there's Skylanders Trap Masters, where you get like these cages that will trap characters in them. The latest one had actual vehicle Skylanders that you actually place on an extra big or extra large portal. And this is just wonderful for children. Again, these figures, it may be hard to see. I'll bring up closer to the camera, but there's some decent aesthetics to it. It looks pretty good. It looks detailed for the character as well. And these bigger ones actually light up too, which is of course a treat for everyone. And Skylanders really embraced this toy side. You not only had different Skylanders, but they came in different elements or powers that you need to collect in order to see everything in the game. So you could beat a Skylanders game with just one or two Skylanders, but if you want to get 100%, you know what that means. You're going to need a lot of figurines. And as a nightmare for parents, not only did you have exclusive figurines, you also had store-wide exclusive and even convention exclusive Skylanders that looked different or had different properties. And yes, the eBay, Amazon third-party market really blew up. Now, as a game, the Skylanders are okay. They're definitely aimed at children. There's not a lot in terms of advanced challenges or subjective difficulty that you would see in a Nintendo game. But for what it's aiming for and its appeal, it's very easy to see why the Skylanders was amazing. Next, we have Nintendo Amiibo. And this basically took the world by storm in 2015. Very few Nintendo games or properties have quality collectibles. And as a fan of Nintendo, I've been looking for stuff like this for a long time. Now, the Nintendo Amiibos, I'll bring it a little bit closer, don't have a quote-unquote game per se. They're essentially used for system-wide, or even platform-wide if you count the 3DS. Putting these characters on the Nintendo Wii U tablet or the 3DS's base, or if you're using the new 3DS, it comes with it, unlocks content and features for that game. For Smash Brawlers, which is what Donkey Kong over there is from, it unlocks like the character for sort of like a AI partner, AI trainer. Other games have either bonus content or unique features tied to it. But what really makes the Amiibos popular, I think in my opinion, is again the collectible side of things. We really don't have collectible figurines or collectibles of Nintendo, especially of this quality. I'll bring it in a little bit closer. The figurines look really well. They look detailed for their specific Nintendo characters. The Fire Emblem ones have more humanoid features, while Kirby, Pikmin, and the others are more their cartoon. And again, as a Nintendo fan, it's just great to have these. You can sort of see the box above me, but there are a lot more Amiibos in my house. I honestly don't know how many I have, but I do know it's enough that they could possibly bury me and kill me as the ironic twist of a Twilight Zone episode. And the collectible nature again works here. You have exclusive store-wide Amiibos. You have limited time Amiibos, such as like Chibi Robo, and of course, exclusive ones like the Splatoon ones. And that, combined with Nintendo brand, just equals big bucks. There is a huge buyer and seller third-party market for Amiibos throughout 2015. And it was how I was able to get at least a few of mine at the time. But it got really expensive, including some being priced at 3 to 4 times their MSRP price. But there is a big problem with the Amiibos. Nintendo has really failed to capitalize on them. They haven't committed to full games. Most of the Amiibos have basic functionality to them, but they're not all that integrated well. Now, there's been the Animal Crossing brand, and I'm sure there's a Pokemon brand in the works, or maybe even out now. But in terms of a dedicated game or quote-unquote platform, like the Amiibos, I'm sorry, we actually just had a power fluctuation that just completely threw me off my game. But as I was saying, as an actual platform or a game like Skylanders or Lego Dimensions, there is nothing like that. And that is a big problem, because they're essentially missing half the equation. They have the collectibles, but they don't have a game or reason to play them. And this is a kind of a catch-22 for Nintendo. They want the Amiibos to be popular, but they don't want to commit to a full-on game. But in order for them to become popular, you need that full game. You need something to make use of these characters. And let's face it, if Nintendo did create some kind of super Amiibo game a la Infinity or Lego Dimensions, it would sell like frickin' hotcakes. Let's face it, that would be an amazing game. But Nintendo definitely has had trouble with fully committing to some of their ideas and more out there properties. At this point in time, there are still Amiibos being released. I forget what series we're up to now, but it definitely has died down. Now, what that means for the collectibles remains to be seen. Obviously, if the Amiibos start to disappear, those rare ones will become even more expensive. But I would love for Nintendo to do more with this, especially with whatever they have planned for the NX. Now, number 3 is Infinity. And this is the one that, quite frankly, should have done better. Infinity, of course, combines Marvel and Disney into one uber property. And if you thought Kingdom Hearts with Disney and Square Enix was big, this just had the capacity for amazing sales and being huge. I mean, let's face it, if there's any brand as big and popular as Nintendo, it would be Disney and Marvel combined. This seems to be the critical thought where everything is going wrong. My voice is drying out and we're losing power. Excuse me. But with Infinity, you have people who would buy this for the game side of things, for the kids. And of course you have the collectible fans, the people who buy anything Disney or Star Wars or Marvel. That's right, Disney was added with the last or now permanent final Infinity brand. Now, Infinity, to its credit, did do something unique. They also had the toy box feature that let you take these characters and create your own worlds and little things for people to do. You could race cars, you could get into like little paintball action, all kinds of unique things tied to this very, very popular brand. Unfortunately, though, of the 4 brands on the market, it's also the most price gouging of them, in my opinion. And it works like this. When you buy a figurine like this, it doesn't work by itself. You obviously need a game. You need the game, you need the portal. That's fair. But not only do you need these figurines, you also need special game world, or I think they're called play boxes. I think I'm mixing up the terminology. But essentially, if you want a story or a world to explore, you need to buy additional figurines. So when you bought the Avengers pack, it came with a figurine of the Avengers Tower. You put that on the base, and you basically have that game world. And it complete with its own story, cutscenes, progression model, etc. But here's the problem with that. You can only play characters exclusive to that playset in that world. So I can't take Donald Duck and have him fighting Loki or Venom. It would be awesome to do that, but no. If you wanted those characters to interact, you needed to do that in the toy box, which is the open world or create a setting kind of gameplay. And while that's great, it kind of misses the point of having all these characters in a shared universe. When they added in the Star Wars, they were definitely adding more in terms of gameplay complexity, but again, it's still limited. I can't take any Star Wars characters and put them in the Marvel setting, or Marvel into Disney, and any which way you can think of. And that really hurts. While the toy box was ingenious, without having that base of gameplay, it renders a lot of these figurines useless. So if you bought a figurine like Maleficent or Aladdin, and there wasn't their respective world or story for them, you couldn't really do anything with them. Now, there were reports that following the Star Wars, which I think was considered Series 3 maybe, there were plans to do more in terms of this integration. Something more along the lines of Kingdom Hearts. But again, it just never came to fruition. And it was also probably going to be a lot harder to, bounce everything around. When you start combining brands and properties, it just becomes a very litigated-filled mess. Now, the final one, unfortunately the one that I don't have, is Lego Dimensions. So unfortunately, I don't have first account or first-hand knowledge on that. Now, of course, from a brand perspective, they are really hitting it out of the bases, or they're really hitting a home run with it. You have, of course, the Lego, and every brand that they have that's tied to the Lego brand. So, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Simpsons, Portal, Doctor Who, and so many more. Lord of the Rings. Basically everything that was in the Lego movie is going to possibly appear in Lego Dimensions. And with a Lego Movie 2 in the works, and of course Lego Batman, they have brand awareness for years to come. Now the question though is, how is the gameplay? And it looks like it's going to be copying a lot of what the Lego series was, considering it was developed by Traveler's Tales. And unfortunately, again, I don't have first-hand knowledge. I would say the one ding against it is that the figurines aren't as impressive looking as these guys. Again, when you have like Amiibo and Skylanders, there is some real detail to these figurines that help with the collectible side. The Lego figures are, again, this big. So it does limit their collectability in terms of, again, display-wise. With these guys back there, you can really display them anywhere. Like I have the figurines up there with the Amiibos and more. But it remains to be seen how LEGO Dimensions is going to continue growing and building. Again, Skylanders has really managed to keep reinventing itself. Even though it's still using the same basic gameplay and hooks, each game has different gameplay features, different levels to explore, different situations to make it something appealing for all ages. Now, we are again approaching definitely more than what I want to do for today's Critical Thought, so we'll wrap it up here. Again, it still remains to be seen what will happen with the Amiibo and the LEGO Dimensions brand. I'm also curious to see what Skylanders and by extension Toys for Bob will have up their sleeve. One thing to keep in mind, Toys for Bob did not develop every Skylanders game. It has been licensed to another developer. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, unfortunately. But Toys for Bob does a few, and then a few developers do other ones. Sort of similar to what they do with Call of Duty, with different developers working on it on a year-by-year basis. But that's going to do it for today's Critical Thought. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. If you enjoyed it, of course, be sure to check out game-wisdom.com. And of course, our Patreon campaign in order to not only support ourselves, but add more content for everyone to enjoy. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow with another Critical Thought. Take care. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment, of course, share with your friends. It always helps out. Check out game-wisdom.com, where I examine the art and science of games. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter under GW Bycer for the latest updates of new content. And be sure to check out our Patreon campaign. You can find us on Patreon under Game Wisdom if you would like to donate and help contribute to keeping Game Wisdom going. Your donations can not only give us the monthly funding we need to keep supporting ourselves, but if we can hit some goals, it will mean more great content for you, and there are some nifty little rewards there as well. Thanks again for watching this video, and be sure to tune into the next one real soon.